recently I just discovered a brand new obsession of mine, and that is Steven Universe. You probably can't even tell, but Steven Universe is in fact on this bracelet. That's how crazy I am about this show. So all of the obsession towards this show got me to thinking. There are a lot of things in my childhood that I was obsessed with, and I did do a childhood stories video, so I decided why not do a video about all of the obsessions of my childhood. So let's just jump on into this. So I have written all of my obsessions of my childhood on paper because there are that many of them, and I'm going to talk about every single one. So the first obsession that is the groundwork of any obsession that I have ever had in my entire life is Barney. Now, to you, Barney might just be a dinosaur that comes from imagination and he's all gray and purple and stuff, but to me, he was like an icon of my childhood life. I'm not even kidding. I spent hours watching Barney. In fact, I think that once we got a VCR in my house, I pretty much just rewatched tapes of Barney for hours. And I remember one of my aspirations as a child was to go to the Barney live show. I don't know if you guys remember this, but Barney did like a live show and he would have kids come on stage with him, and this was a dream of mine. I loved that dinosaur. So yeah, that is the first obsession of mine from my childhood, and there are a ton more. The next obsession is by far one of the most important obsessions, to me at least, and it was the Teletubbies. Maybe you don't remember, but the Teletubbies were like the little alien monsters that kind of looked like Barney, except they had TVs on their stomachs, duh, Teletubbies, and they lived in this really cool, like, place. I don't even know how to explain it. But basically, I was obsessed with these alien-like creatures. My favorite was Lala, she was the yellow one, and I had a giant stuffed doll of her, and I used to go around singing the Teletubbies theme song and all that. So yeah, that was definitely a very important obsession of my childhood. The next one that I want to mention is one that me and my sister both had together, and that was Blue's Clues. Blue was the adorable little blue dog that left clues for Steve, and they had all sorts of kinds of mysteries and stuff, and it was a really awesome show. I didn't like it as much after Steve left for college, but I still continued to watch it because I loved Shovel and Pale and Blue and Paprika and Magenta and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I had a lot of different memorabilia from them. I remember I had the Blue's Clues, like, pad of paper, and then I also had a Blue's Clues stuffed animal. I actually had a Shovel and Pail. It was a huge deal to me. Probably even more important to me than Barney, and that's saying something. The next obsession, and one that I feel like needs to be mentioned, is Maisie. Now, if you don't know who Maisie is, she is a little mouse that didn't talk. The show was like narrated, and she went like me, 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 and she was my favorite thing in the entire universe. I lived for Maisie. I had a stuffed animal of Maisie. I loved Maisie. And one fateful day at Zany Brainy, I don't know if you guys remember that store, but I loved that store. They had Maisie, and I got to meet Maisie. Do you realize how important this was? To like 4-year-old Hannah, it was a big deal. So yeah, Maisie is probably one of the most important obsessions of my childhood, so I definitely had to mention her in my childhood obsessions video. Another one of the very important obsessions of my childhood was Clifford the Big Red Dog. He was yet another character that I got to meet in person, so it made it very important to me. And I also really loved his books and TV show on PBS. I was pretty much obsessed. Just the thought of a giant red dog was so exciting to me. I think because when I was very, very young, I really wanted a dog, and that was before I got a dog, and I was obsessed. I mean, what could be better than a giant red dog that you could just ride around? You wouldn't even need a car. I mean, come on. Another one of my childhood obsessions, which was a character that I actually got to meet at Zany Brainy, was Franklin. He was a little turtle, and he had all these adventures, and he had books, and he had a show, and I was obsessed. I loved Franklin so much. I watched his show all the time, I read his books. Every time I went to the library, I would get a Franklin book, and I loved Franklin so much. So obviously meeting Franklin was a huge highlight of my young life. Another important obsession was Arthur. I don't know if you guys remember Arthur, but he was the little guy, I guess he was an anteater that had adventures, and he actually owned a dog, which was kind of strange because he's an anteater, but anyways, he went to school, he had a library card. Having fun isn't hard unless you have a library card. And then there was DW, who was a complete savage, and just the entire show and I loved it. He was another one that I got to meet because our local PBS station actually held a thing where you could go and meet Arthur, and at this event I fell directly on my face on the floor, but I still got to meet Arthur, so it was worth it. Another one of my obsessions as a child, which is arguably one of the most important obsessions, I know I've said this about every obsession, but this one was very, very, very important, was Angelina Ballerina. So one Christmas, our friends actually all got together and got me and my sister things from American Girl. For me, they got Angelina Ballerina, and for my sister, they got Felicity from the doll series. So I got Angelina Ballerina, and she was the little mouse that had a ballet costume. And I loved Angelina Ballerina. I read her books, I watched her little like show type thing that they had going, I played with this little doll all the time, and she even inspired me to start taking ballet classes, which made me want to become a dancer when I was younger. So after getting Angelina Ballerina for Christmas, for my birthday, which was my 5th birthday the next year, my family actually ended up getting me Alice, which was her little friend, and a couple of her outfits. I loved Angelina Ballerina and Alice, and when they discontinued her from American Girl, I was so sad. But the good thing about them discontinuing her was that they had a bunch of sales on the dolls, so I actually got Henry and Polly, which were her nieces and nephew, and I got like her ballet bag and a bunch of her like clothes, because they were having like this closeout, like everything must go type thing, and I was so excited. And when those packages came, it was like Christmas morning, and it was the best thing ever. So yeah, Angelina Ballerina was definitely a very important obsession. So for the same birthday that I got Angelina Ballerina's friend, I actually ended up getting Molly, which was the American Girl doll that was from the 1940s in the World War II era, and I was absolutely obsessed with her, and I loved her. I think the main thing about her that I really loved was that she looked a lot like me. When I was very young, I used to wear my hair in 2 braids, and I used to have bigger glasses, like more round glasses, so it was like looking in a mirror. Obviously my hair was blonde, it wasn't brown like Molly's hair, but I still really felt like she could be me. So I was very excited. Another important childhood obsession was when I got a little older and started watching Disney Channel. Lizzie McGuire was the first show that I ever watched on Disney Channel, and let me tell you, it was an obsession. So after I started watching her on Disney Channel, I started listening to Hilary Duff's music, and then I also went to go see the Lizzie McGuire movie with my cousin. And fun fact, my cousin, who had claimed that he hadn't watched Lizzie McGuire at all, hadn't seen anything about Lizzie McGuire, actually basically admitted that he did watch it after we watched the movie. So we were walking out of the movie theater, and we were talking about how excited we were that Lizzie McGuire and Gordo finally got together and kissed, and he said, wait, no, they kissed on that other show a few episodes back. They've already kissed. And we were like, you watched the show! And to this day, he probably still will deny it, but he did totally watch the show. If you're watching this, cousin, you totally did watch the show. You were just denying it. Another one of my obsessions from the OG Disney Channel days was That's So Raven. I loved the theme song, I loved Raven, I loved Corey, I loved everything about the show. It was hilarious. So yeah, That's So Raven, and I'm still so upset they never made a That's So Raven movie. Why? Another important obsession of old Disney Channel was The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody with Dylan Nicole Sprouse and Ashley Tisdale and Brenda Song, and it was just such a good show. I miss it so much. Everything about that show was awesome. They lived in a hotel, which was really awesome. London was an heiress. Awesome. They were in Boston. Awesome! I mean, I know I feel like my reaction's a little over the top, but I loved this show, and I loved Dylan Nicole Sprouse, and I had an insane crush on Cole Sprouse. I actually had a calendar of Dylan Nicole Sprouse. I was obsessed. Another important obsession of my childhood was Allie and AJ. So if you don't remember Allie and AJ, they're Allie Mashalka and AJ Mashalka. They came together and had a duo, and it was Allie and AJ. One of my first concerts as a kid was Allie and AJ at my state fair, and I was so excited. I made a sign, it had my name on it, I was like, love Hannah, and I went and I saw them, and I loved Allie and AJ's music, and I still love their music. I actually just recently downloaded a lot of it onto my phone again, and I've been listening to it a bunch. So yes, Allie and AJ was a very important band. Another important obsession was Jump 5. They also did things with Disney. I was also very obsessed with them, and I actually got to go see them live. It was actually announced in our local paper that Jump 5 was going to be coming to perform at a local church. So So we asked our mom to take us, and she took us. Our entire family ended up coming, and we saw them perform, and then afterwards we went to a meet and greet where they signed our t-shirts and posters. And it was awesome. It was actually my very first meet and greet type situation like that, and I had a giant crush on Brandon. So yeah, Jump 5 was a very important part of my young life. My next very important obsession was High School Musical. Now, all my OG Disney fan kids out there, you all know High School Musical was probably by far my most important obsession of this entire childhood. From the moment I watched the first one, I was hooked. I loved all the characters, I loved the songs, and I still love it, and I've seen it probably 80 million times. The second one came out and I loved it, and the third one, me and my sister actually went to a sleepover at our local church, and we got to go see High School Musical 3 beforehand, and it was awesome. It's everything I loved in a movie. There's music, acting, that's really, really good, and there's a great message to it of we're all in this together. So another important obsession of my childhood was Pure Energy. Pure Energy is like a contemporary Christian type band, and they had a lot of really good songs that were more mainstream that went into like Disney Channel and stuff, and they were actually founded by Brandon, who was in Jump 5. So my church was actually doing a thing where we were all gonna go together to see them live. So me and my sister got tickets, and a couple of our friends got tickets, and we all went together. It was a really awesome show, and afterwards we actually got to meet them and have them sign our posters, and it was really cool. So yes, this leads me to my final obsession of my childhood, and that is Build-A-Bear. Now, you may or may not know Build-A-Bear, but they are the store where you get to make your own stuffed animals, and it became an obsession. I finally got my parents to take me to Build-A-Bear, and from the moment I went, I knew that I wanted to go a lot. One of my last Build-A-Bears, since I don't really go there a whole lot anymore, was a cow Build-A-Bear, and her name is Melissa, and I feel like I've mentioned her before, but yes, Melissa has got to be my favorite of all of them. So yeah, those are my childhood obsessions, and I hope that you can relate. If you like this video, be sure to give it a giant thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below telling me about your childhood obsessions, because I'd love to know, and also be sure to subscribe by pressing that subscribe button so that we can be notified every single time I post a video, which is every single Friday. So with that, I'm gonna go, and I will see you guys next week with a brand new video. Okay,